Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. If you've been anywhere near the rugby news cycle recently, you know that the name dominating the headlines has been Eben Etzebeth. And not for a spectacular tackle, but for a shocking suspension.
Hmm.
The initial numbers were massive, they were terrifying, and they generated outrage globally. Our mission today is not just to report the news, but to give you the shortcut.
That's right.
We are going to dive deep into the disciplinary ruling, unpack the legal and mathematical reality behind that huge ban reduction, and show you why his return is much, much closer than those scary headlines ever suggested.
This is an essential deep dive because, as you said, the headline 18 games is all people remember, but the disciplinary process is, it's a nuanced machine of matrices, precedent, and fixture lists.
It really is.
So we are focusing squarely on two things: the gravity of the panel's finding on the red card offense and the precise locked-in timeline for his full return to action for both the Sharks and the Springboks.
And before we get into it, if you thrive on this kind of critical, time-saving analysis, the stuff that turns dense legal reports into clear insights, then you need to be part of our community.
Definitely.
Do yourself a favor right now. Just subscribe to Rugby Obsession immediately. Get informed now so you are ahead of the conversation when he runs out for his comeback game.
So let's start with the incident itself.
Mm-hmm.
Etzebeth received a straight red card while playing for the Springboks against Wales. And this wasn't, a reckless tackle.
Yeah.
The offense was classified as something far more severe.
A straight red. That already signals seriousness, but the panel's final determination is what really set the tone, isn't it? What was the exact nature of the offense?
Well, the panel determined that the offense was an eye gouge against the Wales flanker Alex Mann. But the key word here, the one that blew the initial sanction out of the water, was intentionality.
Ah, okay.
They concluded that Etzebeth had made intentional contact with Mann's eye. And it's not just accidental contact. Finding that intent, well, that moves the offense to the highest possible entry point.
I want to focus on that for a moment, because for anyone who follows the regulations, they know that word intentional is the difference between a few weeks out and a career-defining suspension.
It's a massive difference.
Yeah.
In disciplinary terms, if they had found the act was merely reckless, the entry point would have been much lower, maybe 6 or 8 games.
Right.
But by finding the contact intentional, they classified it as top-end seriousness. It sends a clear message across the sport that intentional contact with the eyes will be treated with the utmost severity.
And that severity translated directly into the raw numbers. The disciplinary panel deemed a mid-range entry point of 18 games appropriate. 18 games.
Which is an enormous number.
That's where all the shock came from.
It is. When you see that headline drop, it suggests a season-ending, possibly career-altering ban. It's designed to shock, but this is where the judicial system steps back in and assesses the whole player, not just the single offense.
Okay, let's unpack this reduction math, because getting from 18 games down to his actual suspension, well, that involves a deep dive into character and history. How did they manage to chop such a huge chunk off?
Well, what's fascinating here is that even when a panel finds intent, they still have to weigh factors that speak to the player's general conduct. And Etzebeth, despite being famously physical, actually has a remarkably clean prior disciplinary record.
That's a great point. He plays on the edge, but he's rarely on the wrong side of it.
Exactly. That history, combined with what the sources termed other mitigating factors, which almost always includes genuine remorse and cooperation, allowed the panel to significantly reduce the total sanction.
So we're talking about an entire 6 games being cut based on his history and his conduct during the process.
That's it.
The 18-game sanction was trimmed by 6, resulting in a final effective suspension of 12 matches. Still significant, but 6 games off the top is a huge win for his team.
It is. And the shift from 18 to 12 is the first critical piece of knowledge. The second, and maybe the most time-saving piece of info, is that the clock was already ticking, and ticking fast. As of January 5th, he had already served 4 of those 12 games.
And that's purely because of that congested fixture list the Sharks faced over the holidays.
Entirely.
It's the beauty of the professional club schedule, in a way. The density that drains players actually helped Etzebeth burn through a third of his suspension in a blink. So let's look at those 4 matches he banked immediately.
Absolutely. The Sharks' participation in Europe played a huge role. He missed 2 crucial rounds of the Champions Cup Tough Pool games against Toulouse and Saracens.
All right, 2 massive games.
Then, almost immediately, the focus shifted to the United Rugby Championship, the URC. He missed two high-stakes derby clashes there, one against the Bulls and one against the Lions.
4 games served in just a few weeks. That's a third of his suspension, just gone. And while the Sharks definitely missed him, there's a silver lining here for Etzebeth the individual, isn't there?
There is. This enforced break has allowed him to bank some rare, critical rest. Etzebeth is one of the most heavily used players in World Rugby, constantly shifting between club duties and intense international demands. So while he's frustrated, this downtime, which the sources call rare rest, might be the physical reset he desperately needed. He could come back stronger.
I have to wonder if a player wired like him even knows how to bank rest.
He's probably treating the gym like a contact sport just to wear himself out.
You're probably right. This rest might be more stressful for him than playing a final. But joking aside, the conditioning staff will manage it. 4 down, 8 to go.
And speaking of going, if you appreciate how we're breaking this down, saving you hours of reading dense reports, then this is exactly what we do every week. Make sure you subscribe to Rugby Obsession right now so you don't miss future updates.
Okay.
Now let's talk about those remaining 8 matches. The Sharks have a seriously packed schedule, and that clock is ticking down fast.
It truly is a rapid rotation. The final 8 games really melt away pretty quickly. You can sort of group them into 2 blocks.
Okay. You've got the final 2 European pushes in January, and then a heavy dose of URC action leading into March.
So those 2 Champions Cup pool matches, away against Sale and home against Claremont, that brings the total missed games to 6 by mid-January.
Correct. Then the focus shifts entirely to the URC. January sees 2 major derby clashes against the Stormers, back-to-back. Missing Etzebeth for both of those is a serious hole for the Sharks.
That's 4 huge games in January alone. We're up to 8 games served, so what about February?
February, he misses 2 more high-stakes URC matches, one against the Lions and another massive South African derby against the Bulls. And just like that, we're 10 games down.
Only 2 remaining.
The final 2 games on the suspension list are in March, Sharks versus Munster on the 21st, and the final match, Sharks versus Cardiff, on March 27th. Once the final whistle blows on that Cardiff game, the ban is officially over.
So we've tracked it from that terrifying 18-game starting point through the 6-game mitigation down to the final game on March 27th. We can now synthesize that return timeline. When will the Sharks faithful actually see him back on the park?
Based on that final missed match, Etzebeth will be fully available for the Sharks by the end of March. He will have served his entire 12-game suspension.
But what's interesting and something we have to point out is the scheduling quirk right after the ban ends. He doesn't have a game immediately, does he?
That's right. The schedule contains a specific gap. His first game back should be on April 18th in the United Rugby Championship. The first 2 weeks of April are a break in action, so he gets a mini preseason with the team while being officially available.
Which is actually perfect timing for the club.
It really is.
It means he'll be back just in time to have a huge impact on the final, crucial phase of the URC season. Bringing a fully rested, motivated Etzebeth into the final stretch is a weapon few other teams can match.
Absolutely. Looking at the big picture, the Sharks get their star lock for the tail end of the season. He should play a key role in their URC push, and he'll get a few games to find his rhythm before any potential knockout stages.
And if we pull back to the national team picture, the ultimate takeaway is that he's paid his debt entirely before the Springboks even return to action for their summer tests.
That is the best news for national supporters. The timeline aligns perfectly. He will be fully available as soon as the Springboks return to action in July. No lingering suspension, no fitness questions. He'll be match fit.
So this whole serious incident has a surprisingly rapid and strategically timed conclusion for both club and country.
It really does. That April 18th return date will arrive in a hurry.
So what stands out to you, the listener, about this deep dive? Is it the sheer speed of the reduction math or the fact that the Sharks' packed fixture list ultimately benefited Etzebeth? Let us know what you think his biggest impact will be upon his return. And as always, to stay ahead of the game and get the kind of analysis that turns long disciplinary rulings into short, powerful insights, make sure you subscribe to Rugby Obsession. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.